Hello Persona fans and welcome back to Trinity Soul Tuesdays, the show where I cover an episode of Persona Trinity Soul every 2 weeks and encourage you all to watch along with me. When we last left off... Oh yeah, that... On today's episode, a man shows up to meet the lady who ran the beachfront B&B from episode 7, while Ito and Akihiko are investigating a mysterious ship incident, where only 7 of the 82 passengers are accounted for, 4 of them have apathy syndrome, and the remaining 3 are... not the correct people? What? Meanwhile, we get to see what Megami would look like in her Persona Trinity Soul Dancing Soul Knight costume as she shakes her groove thing, yeah. After her show, the gang is hanging out at the beach when Jun asks Megami if he could join the dance club, and she says he can once he's old enough. Except the dance club is all girls, and Jun is a boy, right? Reminder that apparently Jun is just Yuki now, but I'm still going to be using Jun-based terminology until all the other characters actually figure this out. The gang gets distracted by some chumps just chumping it up at the beach called the Vanishing Wills, people who have basically given up on life and are hanging out at the beach trying to get apathy syndrome or be taken away or something. It reminds Takuro of the event from 10 years ago, when he's suddenly distracted by this random guy I talked about in the last episode's teaser clip. We don't know who this dude is, but Takuro clearly does as he grabs hold of him and starts yelling at him. The guy, though, who calls himself Mizutani, doesn't seem to recognize Takuro at all. Megami and Shin manage to pull Takuro off, who says he must have been mistaken before sulking off. So what the hizzity heck was that all about? Akihiko and Ito are discussing various incidents, and we get a rough idea of what's actually going on. Basically, people who've gone missing are showing back up, except their personalities and memories are clearly somebody else. Essentially, victims recovering from apathy syndrome are coming back in the wrong bodies, and that's causing a lot of confusion for everybody. Even people like Nagai, who made that drug deal with the Maribito, to the missing crewmen of that submarine incident from the very first episode, are being affected by this phenomenon. Back at the house, Shin and Jun are hanging out, and Jun is like, "Oh hey, that dude at the beach was totally Takuro's dad, who abandoned him at the park when he was a kid." And then Shin is like, "Oh, thank God for your weird psychic powers. Otherwise, I would have had to talk to Takuro to learn that. Thanks, bro. Brosif, Brosidon, god of the Broshin." As they're leaving, though, they run into Ayane, who thankfully has learned how to use her lips as she tells the two brothers, Out in town, Takuro is hanging out with the girls, and tells them about how the guy they ran into was his dad, and how they went to a Cycloid V live show, a tokusatsu show that isn't Featherman for some reason, and was foreshadowed by Inui's Shave Ice Machine. But then Takuro's dad just left him there, because he was a good-for-nothing. And then this random lady shows up super psyched to see Takuro, which just has everyone confused. Just who are you anyway, lady? Takuro, this might not be the best time for this, but I kinda want to bang your dad. Okay, we're gonna go now. As the group gets onto the bus, the woman seems desperate to talk to Takuro, and as the doors close, she mentions Cycloid V, which makes Takuro think, ah crap, is this
for real?
Ayane tries to tell Shin and Jun about the whale, an incomprehensible Lovecraftian being that lives within the Sea of Souls, yet also exists inside of every human psyche. The feathers we keep seeing are, in her words, not mine, the whale's scab, and represent its screaming. Basically, the whale is sort of our Nyx for this series, an ineffable being that could bring about the end of everything. Shin asks Ayane if she knows where Ryo is, and she tells him simply, When the two brothers head back to the dorms, they run into Takuro's hot dad, who asks Shin to give his son a package for him, and thinks that time may be running out for him. The gang all meets up to go give the present to Takuro while he's at work, and Inui tells them all about the incidents where people with apathy syndrome have been getting the psyches of people who've gone missing, so it's entirely possible that woman could be Takuro's dad. Mayuri points out that Takuro seems to be a bit out of it, but he counters with a good old-fashioned takes one to know one, and then Shin comes in and gives him the present. And it's one of the original versions, too, a fact that Inui seems super psyched about. I mean, he does have the official Cycloid V Shave Ice Machine, after all. But Takuro doesn't seem to care, and says how Cycloid V was more of his dad's thing. He'd always claimed the show was super deep, but whatever. As Takuro goes to meet up with his father, he recalls the day of the live show when his dad just left him there and disappeared. He arrives at the same rooftop where the show was to find his dad, and the two have a brief heart-to-heart. Even if Takuro is mad, he can't beat the crap out of his dad while he looks like that. We learn that after his dad left, Takuro lived with his grandma until she died, and then lived with an uncle until he graduated from middle school. He changed his hair so that punks wouldn't bother him, and that, kids, is the origins of Takuro's afro. Oh right, his dad. We find out his dad left so he could take the burden of some debt that was weighing down their family, and Takuro says at the very least his dad taught him what not to do with his own life. The two have a semi-heartwarming reconciliation before Takuro's dad's time is up. And I thought his psyche was just gonna leave, but like, even the girl completely disappears, so like, is she dead? I'm very concerned about this person. But before he leaves, Takuro's dad reminds Takuro about the most important thing. So he heads back down to see all his friends, and they decide to have a Cycloid V party and watch the show for themselves. Inui offers to stop by the rental shop, but they don't need to, because Takuro has the complete series on DVD. And that is where this episode... Oh, right, those people. They're just, like, doing their thing. And that is where this episode ends. I admit I wasn't the biggest fan of this episode. It hit a lot of the same notes as the Megami story from episode 17, but not as well. Takuro reconciles with a long-lost parent, but unlike with Megami, this didn't feel like the payoff to some story that's been a part of Takuro's character the entire time. It wasn't horrible, but it had that same forced pit stop feeling I talked about in episode 17, but with slightly less character growth. Again, I didn't love or hate it. I think the best part was finally learning about the whale, as it gives us a better idea of where the series is going to go for its finale. Those of you that are watching along at home, what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all again in 2 weeks, but for now, so long. On the next episode of Trinity Soul Tuesdays. Oh my god, what the heck is that thing?